we all need somewhere to live. And the question is should you rent or should you buy? And so for most of us, there's a period in your life when you should be renting. So I'll give you an example. My daughter's 24. She's a software engineer. She lives in Cambridge. She pays £1,300 a month for a one-bedroom flat. Okay? Which is a lot. Even though she's on a good salary, she's only 24. It's a large amount. But
not if you live in London. It's not a lot.
Yeah, no, but it's still a lot of money relative to her earnings.
Yeah.
So that's probably 40% of her take-home pay, which is far higher than we'd normally suggest people do because it crowds out other things. But for her, in her situation, it makes sense to rent for 3 reasons. One, because she's establishing her career, right? So she's got into a job, very high paying. It's very hard work. She's a cybersecurity software engineer. It's not easy. That whole thing of learning all that. I mean, she did a classics degree for goodness sake. She didn't do computer science. And she's in a male-dominated world and all that stuff. But the point is she's now developing a career. They're giving her pay rises. She's getting bonuses. And so she's growing into her career, and that's an investment in herself. So in other words, wasting money, as we call it, on rent is a good investment for her because if that job didn't turn out or she didn't want to live in Cambridge, then she can just, at the end of her notice or whatever, she can give notice and leave. And also she doesn't have any, other than the rent, she doesn't have any worries about maintenance and renewals and all that sort of stuff other than her energy bills. And so for her, it makes sense. And for many people, renting does make sense. Now, if we think about her, and again, I use her as my example, she's 24 and, we're now starting to think about, okay, what should we do? Long term, we don't want to be paying someone rent, do we?
No.
We don't really want to be paying. And the reason is because it's just dead money in the long run. So what we have to do is we have to think about, okay, so what's the cost of living somewhere, whether it's renting or buying? There's a great website, which I'll give you the link to. It's called Smart Money Tools, and it's got a great calculator called rent versus buy. And you can put all your own factors in, like how much deposit you're going to put down, what's the rent of the equivalent house, what interest rates do you want to assume on the mortgage, what growth rate do you want to assume on property. You can put all these things in, and it's got defaults. And it will tell you and says, how long do you want to stay there? That's the important thing. So the longer the period, renting is going to be a worse bet for you, all other things being considered. The shorter the period, renting is going to be a less cost of total ownership. And that's when you take into account, with rental, any deposit you would have put into the house, you can invest, can't you? Or save. Yeah. And people don't do that. I mean, I did a really dodgy video about 3 years ago about this, rent versus buy, on a whiteboard. And now there's all slick calculators and all sorts of stuff. But the principles I was explaining, and of course, when you add in cost of maintenance and all that. So that is a good calculator to work out. And this particular calculator, the crossover point for her with her current numbers and the current rates of mortgages and the deposits she would put down would be about 3 years. So she's going to stay there for 3 years or more. And if all other things being equal, we can get the property at the price that we're looking at and the rent goes up at 5% a year or whatever, then basically she is better off buying.
If you want some more insights on housing from Jason Butler, click on this video here.